92 AFL Premiership season.
Hawthorn back in business, finishing at 20 goals, 15, 135. Jason Dunstall 9, Johnny Platten and Darren Jarman each booted 3. Collingwood very disappointing. They looked somewhat tired in that second half. 17, 9, 111. Dacos booting 5, passing 500 goals. Fine achievement. Watson 3 and James Manson also 3. Whilst in the other match played today, Essendon and Melbourne, the Bombers coming back from the dead. 8 goals to 1 in the last quarter. An enormous effort. Paul Salmon finished with 7 of that tally of 18, 16, 124. Somerville got 3 and Terry Danaher 2. Whilst for Melbourne, 19, 9, 123, down by a point. Gary Lyon 5. Sullivan booted 3. Steins and Pickering each contributed 2.
Time now to check the CUB AFL 1992 Premiership Season League ladder.
And great interest now, Footscray back on top as far as percentage is concerned from Collingwood, Carlton. Doesn't that make that game coming up between those two a beauty? Geelong, Fitzroy and Hawthorn currently in the top 6. Adelaide, St Kilda dropping out to 8th spot. But bear in mind, of course, we still have matches to come tomorrow. We shall take a break, but stay with us. There's plenty of football news and gossip around, and the man that has it all, Scott Palmer, will be joining us shortly. Herald Sun and the irrepressible Scotland Palmer. Scotty, no excuses, but you look at the performances of Collingwood and Melbourne today. You saw Melbourne, I saw Collingwood. Both sides appeared to tire terribly. Is that because of the 5 days?
Both the coaches are saying so. Lee, Northey and even Kenny Sheldon said that the 5-day break wasn't quite enough and it took the edge off their players in that final quarter, Sandy, and obviously the teams that had that rest has finished over these boys. Well,
of course, the big news you were talking about, Kenny Sheldon, as far as St Kilda is concerned, is the reporting of Tony Lockett, of which Sheldon was unaware.
He said, was Tony reported? I didn't see it. He said, there's nothing I can do about it anyway. But he was a very disappointed man on the siren at Princes Park. Of course, he had Stephen Newport with a badly busted nose as well, and Tony was very, very upset and emotional about being reported, and on the siren too, Sandy. It's going to be an anxious few days for the Saints.
My word, it will. On the other hand, David Parkin, he'd be pretty pleased with things out of Princes Park at the moment.
David said that the first 2 months of this year will determine whether the Blues are a good side or not. He said, we're not scintillating at the moment, not scintillating, not effervescing, but he said we are more workmanlike, and it was a workmanlike performance today, and it was because Dorotich moved fantastic. Onto Lockett.
The word you were looking for was effervescent, wasn't it?
I'll leave it to you.
Don't even try and say it. Scotty, Jason Dunstall kicked 9 out at Waverley Park today, and the story was that he's going to go into hospital next week for a heel operation, but now I believe he's put that on hold.
He now calls it a tentative booking, Sandy, and after those goals today, he might delay it. Of course, the Queensland State of Origin team were hoping he'd play up there on May the 12th. But the heel looked pretty good after 9 goals today, and he said it doesn't actually hurt him while he's playing, but he pulls up sore. And I think with Breton out and Paul Deere and Hall on the sidelines, I think he might stay in action for a while before he gets that heel look to.
Actually, Scotty, it was much like the Hawks of old today. Alan Joyce, I'd say, would be pretty pleased and rather relieved.
He said they stuck to their game plan and it's been worked on all week, Sandy. And he said the first time all year we've played 4 quarters. Matthews, of course, said that the Magpies have got a fair bit of improving to do, but he blamed those 5 days and the 7 days, and he said that may have conceded that he should have played Monkhurst today because they're a bit light in the rucks, the old Woods.
Yes. To Melbourne and Essendon, what an extraordinary performance by the Bombers. 47 points at one stage early in that last quarter, and up they get.
Well, John Northey said he couldn't believe it. We're just not mentally tough enough, he said. It was disgraceful. Our legs fell off. And maybe we've got the fear of defeat in us, he said, and we should never have lost today's game. They were bewildered, like 41 other thousand people down there at the MCG today. They couldn't understand how Melbourne could lose after leading by 8 goals. Paul Salmon swung the game, of course, 6 goals in the second half.
And Mark Harvey described it as better than the 84 GF.
He did. He said that's a better game than the 84 grand final win, and Paul Salmon almost conceded, but Kevin Sheedy said, I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but it's one of the best wins I've ever been associated with at Essendon. So great news for Sheedy.
Scotty, as always, you're effervescent.
Thank you very much. What's that word again, Sam?
Keep punching. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, mate.
Scott Palmer from the Sunday Herald Sun. Well, of course, round 6 isn't completed until tomorrow. We've got 3 pretty interesting games at Football Park in Adelaide. Don't write off the Bears there. Adelaide and Brisbane at the Park. Geelong and Fitzroy at Cardinia Park. And Richmond are going to give the Eagles a nudge at the MCG. 3 big games of football, of course, all your football action. Stay right here on 7.
This has been another 7 Sport production, the network of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics.
Football 92, proudly brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors, BP Australia, CUB, Westpac, SIO and Vulcan. News Update, brought to you by Vulcan Dishlex.
Good evening, Peter Mitchell with the newsroom latest. Diggers are tonight celebrating Melbourne's Anzac Day after perfect weather drew a large crowd to the city for remembrance services. They're encouraged by the number of young that attended. In New Guinea, the Prime Minister and opposition leader laid a wreath honouring those who 50 years ago defeated the Japanese along the Kokoda Trail. Melbourne's weather tomorrow, cloudy periods with a few showers and a top of 17. Good night.
Welcome to the Football Hour as we check the winners so far in round 6 with 3 matches to be played today. North Melbourne by 49 points. It was the round of the comebacks. North Melbourne coming back after 3 consecutive losses. They beat the Swans. Hawthorn by 24 points after 2 consecutive losses. Well, the comeback to end all comebacks maybe Essendon yesterday over Melbourne in that last quarter by a point. And the Blues were 5 goals behind against St Kilda late in the second term, and they got up to win by 8 points.
Now it's time to check the CUB AFL ladder.
This ladder's been all over the place this year. Footscray on top today, and to think a couple of years ago they were going to be with Fitzroy. Collingwood and Carlton, Hawthorn, St Kilda and Essendon, and then Geelong, Fitzroy, Adelaide, North Melbourne, Sydney, West Coast, Brisbane, Richmond and Melbourne. Many teams still to play today as we go and look at the highlights from the round. And we start on Friday night, and this was in the very early part of the game. Murphy banging it down to Strooper, who started this season very well, but he didn't have a very good night on Friday night. He kicked the first goal, and then a couple of minutes later this happened where he slipped Martin just a little shove, obviously not intentional, and Strooper going smack bang. Murphy didn't come back after half time either. Bang on his back. Here's Schwass and Holmes.
Grip and shoulder. Holmes has gone down. He's still down. Oh, there's a couple of wild.
Now, Strooper and also Scholl.
Strooper being one of
and
them.
I'll talk to Scotty Palmer about that a little bit later. Here's Rock. Strooper.
He, threw it away in the end.
Playing very well, Rock.
Siren sound. Longmire with a chance.
Longmire didn't have the best of nights. Kicked 3 goals. Probably not 100% fit. Bayes played very well on him, but that was a bit too easy. And North Melbourne strolling home by 49 points. Dorotich and Newport. Newport copped some very heavy blows there yesterday. Here's Aitken. And Lockett had kicked 6 goals to half time. What's your decision here? No free kick. Morris and Kernahan. Aitken off the ground, rolling it through. Tony Lockett and Hogg clashed a little later in the day, that one around there. This was a wonderful moment, wasn't it? On the run. First game for O'Sullivan for the season, and 4 big ones, and that one put them level, the Blues. It was inspiring. Good old Newport, down and out for the 3rd time.
Back in towards the centre of the ground. Oh, tough stuff. Kernahan's got 3 or 4.
This was outstanding.
Handballs to himself. Goes
Magnificent.
on, the bounce was very kind. Oh,
I think that's called a captain's goal. 4 goals. Viney and Long at the MCG, a remarkable match. Melbourne leading by 47 points late in the last quarter. There was Healy taking it off Kickett. Kickett made very few mistakes. That probably was the only one. He's played very, very well. It's Greg Healy and Michael Long, and this one threatened to get out of hand but didn't. The Wanganeen long shot in a moment. Played very well, Wanganeen. One of Essendon's best players all day, and then this goal to put the Bombers in front, and then Kickett a saving mark late in the game. A long shot from Tingay, and a terrific mark by Kickett. Meaning only a point the difference. He's got extraordinary skills, and Kickett taking the mark, no point allowed, and the Bombers winning, and many of them, in fact Mark Harvey reckoned it was as good as winning that grand final in 1984. Mistake by Pert, who had his colours lowered by Dunstall yesterday. Platten kicked 3 goals yesterday. This was one of them. Lawrence, who's going to be a very important player. Anderson and Platten again.
Johnny Platten from the pocket.
The Hawks in full flight. Dacos kicked his 500th goal yesterday. He's had a terrific season. He's been playing up the ground a bit more. What about this for a torpedo? From about 70.
Torpedo punt. It's a magnificent kick.
Funny how everybody seems to stop when Darren Jarman gets the footy.
Trap it, but it's a loose ball. Jarman, oh, look at that, he walked around.
Just casual, isn't he? Bang again. And Dunstall was the player of the day with his 9 goals, taking credit on and being too good for him, and then McEwen going down there. And I want to ask Scotty about Dunstall's injury situation and whether or not he'll go into hospital for that operation on the hill. But 9 goals to Dunstall. Now the reports, Scholl on Strooper in the third quarter, Strooper on Scholl in the third quarter, and the one that's been most heavily publicised, obviously, Tony Lockett, right at the end of the match with Matthew Hogg as the siren sounded. Now the interstate headlines today from Western Australia, Mickey Malthouse saying that we've got to have a re-look at the Eagles. Their first match in Melbourne for the season. They play Richmond today, a real danger game, remembering they've only won 1 out of their 4 matches so far with that draw. The Adelaide papers are saying that the Bears will be a threat to the Crows today, but the Crows are the favourites. They won before 36,000 people there last year after being stretched for 3 quarters, but that could put Adelaide into the 6. And the story in the Sunday Herald Sun, obviously the biggest story of the day. Well, Essendon's fight back and the win of Carlton, but Tony Lockett right on the death knock. Scotty Palmer has joined us this morning. Scotty, it was a big story, Tony Lockett, but talk about Tribunal.
Yep.
What was the story today about Strooper and Scholl? Was that case heard?
Well, it wasn't. In fact, Neil Busy turned up, the Swans turned up, but there was no North Melbourne contingent. And I've just spoken to Mr Busy on the phone, and he'll want an explanation as to why the North Melbourne boys weren't there to be part of the tribunal today. Apparently they were advised on Thursday as his records show, and there's no explanation, so it's going to be a little bit of a touch-and-go affair to see if there isn't a fine attached to that.
Well, it's rare for that to happen. And now Dunstall kicked 9 goals yesterday. He's in spectacular form. It's really a paradox that he's injured and playing so well. What's his situation an operation?
Well, he, of course, doesn't want one. He kicked 9 goals yesterday, but the medical men at Hawthorn may have the final say, and they may take advantage of the bye, which is the end of next weekend, to take him into hospital, have that bone spur fixed up. He has to play every week with a big injection in his heel. And I spoke to the club today, and they don't want that to continue any longer. It could get worse, and it could cost him many matches later in the season. When he's out, they could get back Brereton, Paul Deere and Hall. So now's the time to do it, they reckon. OK,
they are gaining strength, the Hawks. North Melbourne, Carlton, this idea of Carlton taking North Melbourne over, the reaction from that this morning?
Well, our paper suggested that they could reactivate that merger plan. Now, I spoke to North Melbourne officials in Noosa Heads and Sydney today. They call it mischievous. They say it could never happen. The shares that the Carlton friends of Carlton bought have never been registered. And they said if by chance North wants to merge in 100 years or so, the last club they would pick would be Carlton. The league said it can't happen without sort of the board having a look at it. And they said if Carlton think they're going to get all the North Melbourne players, that would be wrong because the league would want to sort of look at that and other clubs might want a selection, but it won't happen.
Now, AFL are moving house next weekend. Are they taking everything with them?
They're taking everything. They're even refurbishing some of the old chairs and that, Bruce, but they're not taking the board table.
Why is that?
That was built back in about 1972, I think, for 12 clubs. It's been a bit of a squeeze to get 15 to it. It'll be a real squeeze if they put 16 to it next year, mate.
What are you suggesting?
I think it could be a bigger table they look up.
OK, now the state selectors are meeting, what, this week to pick a squad?
Meet on Tuesday to pick a squad, and it's going to be very interesting because a few of the old names, the Maddens and the Waitmans, might be sort of touch and go whether they are included in that side. But one of the blokes they're going to look at is Wayne Wiedemann, who apparently lived down in Fish Creek and played some of the junior football here. But I think it'll probably be another controversial selection by the state squad.
OK, and just finally, the crowds have been enormous.
Fantastic. I spoke to the league today. 150,000 people have attended the matches up to now. They reckon 80 today. They could bring it up to about 230, all-time record. They said they wish the shops would close on a Saturday every week of the year.
OK, your arithmetic's still good too, Scotty. 150
Terrific.
plus 80, 230. Keep punching, mate.
Good on you, mate.
Good on you, Scotty Palmer, the professor there. We take a break. After this, the panel.
On Beyond 2000 Tuesday, avoiding this with sophisticated traffic control.
So if you're tailgating or speeding, you get your picture taken.
Big Brother takes to the roads. Also,
a man who can turn a lump of skin into a cuddly animal.
Scientists are succeeding in bringing an extinct animal back from the dead. And Stradivarius would turn in his grave.
Cheap, tough, made-to-order musical instruments.
Challenging traditions in Beyond 2000, 8:30 Tuesday on 7.
This is the official symbol of Australia's Olympic Games team. And this is Willie, the team's official mascot. Every time you buy a product that features Willie or the Olympic symbol, you're helping to send our team to the 1992 Olympic Games. And you're helping them win gold for Australia.
These days, you have to face some very heavy competition to achieve world acclaim. But as the only cellular phone with a coveted Japanese Nikkei Design Award tucked under our belts, it seems our product had that something extra.
Motorola!
Ooh!
Call for Motorola!
So if you want the world leader in cellular phones,
Call for Motorola!
To develop the most advanced four-wheel drive in the world, we tested it in the most rugged country on earth.
At Westpac, we understand that when it comes to looking after your own, there's no place like home. And to make buying your home easier, we're offering you a special low interest rate of just 9.25% per annum, together with one low bank establishment fee of $250. This is a limited offer, so talk to your Westpac manager today, because we want you to be as comfortable with your home loan as you are with your new home.
On the 28th of June, in a caravan park at Airlie Beach, Thelma and Stuart suddenly needed their car insurance.
Believe it or not, I'd only picked up my Aussie Assist card 6 months before. I'd insured both the cars. I thought it could be a gimmick, but it's worth a try.
They did so much. It would have cost thousands. We'll never be able to thank RACV Insurance enough. He'd have been up there for weeks without their help.
Only RACV Comprehensive Car Insurance has Aussie Assist, and it's free. Switch your policy now.
Welcome back to the show. That ladder we put up at about 4 or 5 minutes ago was incorrect. We'll be bringing you the correct AFL ladder. I told you it was all over the place at the moment. How are you, Bobby?
I'm well, thank you, Bruce, but I'm a little concerned. Last year, of course, we had the bye and everyone's complaining that the bye was wrong. Now they've manipulated the draw, and because it's 5 days and the 3 teams got beat after... Oh, we have to do something about the draw. It's terrible, Ron.
What we're saying, obviously, Bob, is that the teams that played on Monday were beaten yesterday, and the teams that didn't play...
it's shocking, isn't it?
I don't think we have to go to the results. I mean, the results don't prove anything necessarily, even though the 3 teams that played or had 2 days less lost. That doesn't prove a single thing. However, just the theory of the fact that you have 2 days less preparation in today's fitness thing, and we've got a player here just retired, I'd like to see what Timmy's view of this as a player is.
Isn't it a professional game?
No, professional
trainers everywhere. And
professionals have a body,
they got
human body, mate.
Gentlemen.
Right,
We used to play 4 games in 7 days.
What, 40 years ago?
Yes, in 1950. Up in Brisbane, Ron, on Berry Island.
That was a carnival, Bob.
That's right. Jay Holden in those days too. How would that stand up against the
Commodore? Well, it'd probably do very well. At least you couldn't smash it up. It would stand a collision, Ron.
Excuse me, Ron, by the way, the Melbourne Football Club tie today?
No, Crystal Palace.
Oh, Crystal Palace. Oh, OK, Ronnie.
As long as you haven't got crystal other things, Ron, you'll be all right.
He's still got a crystal set. Tim, welcome.
Thanks, Bruce.
How are you?
Good.
You've had a busy week. You've been on all sorts of programs.
Yeah, I've had a busy week. And I'm with Ron all the way. I don't think that 5 days is enough to recover from football today. I think that the players of today...
But you were injured at the finish, Tim.
That's the trouble, though. But you guys haven't played in the modern era of football. Today's the chasing, the tackling, the smothering, the emphasis on the other skills of the game have improved, and the players, I mean, some of the guys are running half a marathon a game, plus sprinting, getting themselves up. And I think if the league are going to expand, we are going to have this other competition, then we need to look about the structure of the games and give them at least 7 days for the players to recover.
Or at least equal.
All right, well, at least equal. Don Scott, you were part of the modern era. We would.
Was I?
Well, you played 302 games
No,
or
you
something.
weren't.
What do you
He's
feel
part
about
of
it?
every
No, I
era.
think you can come up after 5 days, but I suppose it's a contact sport, and that may be a little difficult. But the guys are finally, I mean, they're fit nowadays, and 5 days, I think, yes, they should come up.
Well, we're going to ask someone in a moment who actually has had to go
many
through that
hits in the
experiment.
head.
Peter McKenna, you must have been surprised that Hawthorn won yesterday.
Oh, I've told you all along they're the best side in the competition, Bruce. They're just proving it.
Now, I know we're running out of time, but the best story of the week was when Prince got onto the aeroplane on Friday night, sitting in front of us to go to Sydney, and Gerard Healy was put out.
Unbelievable. We walked on the plane. Hang on, can we tell the story without you butting in? We got on the plane on Friday night, and there were 4 bouncers. I reckon they were 6'4" and about 18.5 stone. They stood there barring everyone's way, but Gerard Healy walked past, pushed them aside, said, "Thank you, boys." Took his seat in first class. He forgot that it was Prince coming on 5 seconds late.
He thought it was for himself.
He thought it was for him. He knows I was going to say that. I'm not talking behind his back. He'll be watching.
Macca, there would have been a lot of records sold between you and Prince, wouldn't there?
We had 50 million and one records between us. Tim, I'm glad you brought that up.
Tim, as Gerard said, there are 2 great singers on this plane today. Robbo, you must have been a little bit proud of the Blues yesterday.
I think they play a lot better, Bruce. For 3 years they've been languishing, playing feeble football, and yesterday they played with tremendous commitment. And St Kilda, I think they've got to ask themselves a few questions, because they had about 30 or 40 more possessions, fiddled around a lot, and poor old Tony didn't have a touch in the second half. That'd be very disappointing for them.
Well, why not ask Russell Morris, who's been involved with the premiership at Hawthorn, involved in those glory days in the mid-'80s. Welcome, Russell. Firstly, the 5-day question. You played Fitzroy on Monday and have come up again at the same ground on Saturday. Your feelings on that?
Well, it's a difficult one. There are certain players that it doesn't worry. I'm sure the younger players find it not a problem, but players like myself and Timmy who are getting a bit long in the tooth, probably, you know, there are older players around that need 7 days to prepare. Like if someone's got a twinge in a hamstring or a bit of a sore calf or a corky, you need that extra 2 days. And, you know, I agree with if both teams had the same amount of time to prepare, fair enough. But with one team maybe being 7 days and one team being 5 days, well, you know, it's not sour grapes, but you've got to think about it.
Do you think lack of legs cost you in the end?
No, I don't think so.
OK, and what about the Lockett situation? It's a very ticklish one for you as a player, but he didn't get a touch after half-time, and this has been his form throughout this season.
Well, Robbo said there we've got to ask ourselves a lot of questions. I'd like to ask Robbo what the questions are for us to ask ourselves.
But in a winning position and not being able to crunch a team like Carlton.
But in today, what do you mean to crunch a team like Carlton? Carlton are a good team. Well, they're not languishing on the bottom of the ladder. And in today's football, that 4 goals down, that's 5 minutes of football these days. And that was in the second quarter.
Fair enough. You couldn't accept yesterday's defeat.
Oh, no, I agree totally.
I think that's what Robbo's getting at.
Yeah, sure, but I agree with that.
I think if you're going to be a top side, this is my question, Russell, that last year your performances were pretty good, and you missed out with, 2 fairly disappointing finals performances. When I say disappointing, only small margins. Now, here is another game where you're 4 goals in front at half-time, as Bruce said, and you had the terrific chance to bury a side that must have been very ordinary as far as confidence is concerned from their previous...
Yeah, totally agree, Robbo. I think being 4 goals up at half-time, going into the third quarter, it was a chance to really pour on, say, 3 or 4 quick ones, and being 7 or 8 goals up, 10 minutes into the third quarter would have been a perfect opportunity to keep going, and that's what we should have done, and that's what we do have to look at ourselves and look at our third quarter performances.
Russell, is it easier to crunch the team, or is it to save the game for you?
No, I don't think saving the game is the answer. I think it's crunching. You've got to crunch the teams these days because, as I said, 5 minutes of football, you can kick 4 or 5 goals. Like Essendon proved yesterday, they kicked 8 goals in 1 quarter. So you've really got to...
But is that lack of defence, or is that just the way the game is played?
I think it's mental strength.
Mental strength?
Yeah, totally. Because you haven't lost your skills in 5 minutes at three-quarter time, have you?
Well, I think you're a little bit stiff yesterday, and full marks to Carlton for their very courageous effort. But if Stephen Newport hadn't have had to leave the field, I mean, Bradley got more kicks in 20 minutes in the last quarter. He had 3 opponents on him. You tried to kick it on him, and then Harvey for only a few minutes, and then Burke, I think.
Yes.
And he was terrific in the last quarter, wasn't he, Bradley?
Yeah, well, the last 10 minutes, like, he opened up that centre line, and you know, Bradley takes advantage of those opportunities, and bang, off it went, and it made the forward, you know, our back line a very difficult situation when you've got runners like that delivering the ball into the
Mind you, the
line.
television showed Newport getting hammered quite a few times. Now, that's got to be expected by a tagger.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah, but he's not getting hit because he's a tagger. He was just...
That'd be one of the reasons.
Oh, come on, he ran into Doricic. The ball was there. He ran into Doricic with Elvin, and the other one with Taxon was just he was just there.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, just like a star player, it's got to expect any tackle on him to be harder than normal, because he's a valuable player and you're going to make him earn every kick he gets. And the same with a tagger. You know you're going to help your own team if you make it very hard for the tagger. So any contact you make is going to be very, very hard, and that's good.
Don,
good stuff.
Yeah, good points, and let's keep talking to Russell, but your votes, Don, from the game.
Well, I found it hard to give votes yesterday because there was just so many good players, and there would be apologies to quite a few. Harvey, Bowie went out of the game, but he was terrific early on. Kernahan, Madden came into it in the second half. Aythorne, Doricic, but I picked out Brown. Fraser Brown on the wing, Stuart Lowe, he got up from a heavy knock to an accidental collision with Aitken, and Nathan Burke on a wing. But and Doricic also should make mention of, because I thought he was a good player.
What about
as well.
Fletcher? Had 30 touches in the
Well,
centre.
he was a good player as well. Okay, well, we'll put him down as well, Robbo. I apologise to him.
Kernahan.
Well, I apologise to him as well. He was down on the list. As soon as you start individualising, there's always going to be somebody. But this was a fantastic game. I believe the best game I have seen since the Geelong-Hawthorn Grand Final a couple of years ago. From the start, they went at it, and they did not let up until the final bell. The crowd was there. The umpires added to it. It was just a fantastic spectacle, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Don, was the big thing the moving of Doricic onto Lockett and cutting him out of the game?
No, I think, well, that might have been one thing, but the point was Carlton started to lift their work rate around the centre of the ground, and that's where they started to win the ball and also capitalise up forward a bit too.
Russell, Kenny Sheldon would have been disappointed after the game.
Oh, sure. I mean, when you lose, the coach is always disappointed, Tim. I think he just mentioned the point being up at half-time and us going to sleep like 5 or 10 minutes in that third quarter. O'Sullivan blew us away with 3 quick goals, and that was the way it went.
There's some terrific individual efforts, weren't there, Russ? Or battles within a battle yesterday. Yeah. I mean, we saw Doricic and Lockett, yourself with Kernahan. That was a fantastic battle. I mean, both of you were terrific. There was Newport and Bradley, and tremendous acts of courage. I mean, Newport was just fantastic the way he's a tough player.
Yeah, look, I admired Newport. I think it was fantastic. Bradley's a very, very dangerous player, and you know he's going to get kicks, but you've got to minimise those possessions as much as possible. But Newport even minimised the possessions that he had and frustrated him.
And your guys were terrific, I thought, in the centre, getting the ball away, because Madden really did control. I know Vidovic really did try and put his body in on a number of occasions, but Madden was getting his hand to the ball, but you guys seem to be taking out a little bit better than what Carlton did.
Yeah, I think Madden might have had the bit of control in the centre, but I think Vidovic had more control around the ground. He got a lot of the ball in the centre, a lot of handballs, good handballs, and also good possessions deep into the forward line. I think
Russell, I've heard that Tony Lockett last week was vomiting before the match. That's a sign of acute nervous tension. Now, is that true, and is he really building up for these games, particularly, say, as captain yesterday?
Well, I wasn't aware of him vomiting before the game, Ron, but I know Plugger expects so much from himself, because, you know, if he doesn't kick 10 or 12 goals a game, which you know he can, he feels very disappointed. And to kick 6, he'll be disappointed with himself, because, you know, he had a good first half, and to have a quiet second half, he knows he's been down during the year, and he's been working on it.
Now, the usual thing about his weight is starting to come up again.
Who's bringing that up, Ron?
Well, I'll bring it up.
Okay, bring it up.
You're going to put him in the state team, Ron, if he's overweight?
Is he overweight?
Well, I don't know. You've got to ask him.
Yeah. But I'm too scared to ask him.
What do you call overweight, Ron? What is overweight?
Well, he hasn't any muscle definition as such. Is that what you're saying?
Most teams have fat tests now, Russell. How would he measure up with a fat test?
Oh, I don't know. I think the dietitian's happy with him.
Russell, your own foreman has been outstanding since moving from Hawthorn, and being discarded by a top club like that. What did you go about the improvement? Did you just grab the bit between the teeth and the conscious?
I think Tim will know. A lot of different players in different sides get different stereotypes set up, and it's very hard to break those amongst the match committee, regardless of what you do in the club. So I think it was time to move on. Like, in my own mind, I'd spoken to family and friends, and I just thought it was time to move, and it was the same plans from Hawthorn's point of view. They didn't want me, so get to a new club, Fresh atmosphere.
What, the new coach didn't want you?
Oh, you said that. Oh, yeah, well, no, yeah, he did tell me. I didn't fit into Hawthorn's plans for '91. Yes, Don. But I think it's a fresh atmosphere. You start from scratch.
And did you lose confidence after that very heavy knock you took?
Oh, I never used that as an excuse, Bruce. What, in the Brisbane game? I don't know. It's I've seen it a few times on video, but I don't use it as an excuse. No, not at all.
And just very finally, Windmail, was he fit yesterday?
Yes.
Has he got a groin problem?
No, if he wasn't fit, he wouldn't have played. Because you learn from that. If you play unfit players, they stand out. I think it was just he had a quiet day. Like, he worked hard, but Hannah's a very good player.
Okay, thanks for coming in. I've enjoyed talking to you today, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks very much.
Russell Morris. Well, Carlton got out of jail yesterday. They've got out of jail in the past in some magnificent matches, particularly with Collingwood in big finals. Let's go back to one in 1979.
Down towards the half-forward line. Harms tries to pick it up. Buckley gets it out to Harms now. He's pursued by Brewer, but he can't catch him. Harms fires at the goals, but he's off target. It's rolling towards the boundary line, and Harms almost makes ground. He tips it back to Sheldon. It's a goal! Oh, what a goal! If you don't mind, Harms is almost as quick as the kick. That's his third, Sheldon.
Yes, and we showed you that because the centenary match coming up from the MCG Thursday, May the 7th, Collingwood against Carlton. And check your local guides for telecast details in your state of that match. We're hoping it might be a live coverage. We'll take it in Melbourne. We take a break. Collingwood Hawthorn after this.
Scandal is set to rock Summer Bay.
You can't make me lunch.
Lou's flirting with the wrong man.
You must have a real nose for a bargain.
And Sophie's flirting with jail.
I think it's very important that you get off to a good start with David's mother.
A runaway heads into the jaws of a trap.
You know your brother's going to get in the car when I tell him to.
Mars presents Home and Away weeknights at 7 on 7.
It took 2,000 years, but a revolutionary discovery is changing the way men think about colouring their grey hair. It's called Just for Men, from the leader in men's hair colouring. Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, shampoo out. Your grey is blended away, leaving natural-looking colour. 5 minutes. Here. Look at me. Just for Men leaves your hair looking healthy and fuller, and it won't fade or wash out. At your local pharmacy.
With boys like the Breaker Brothers, you need a Hilux 4x2. Takes a full ton in the tray. It's lovely and comfy, and it won't break the bank. Hilux is unbreakable. Try not to break anything.
Oh, what a feeling! Toyota!
Introducing the MicroTac 2 Pocket Phone by Motorola Cellular. It's small and it's slight, at a price that's just right. That's why at Communication Brokers, we mean business.
David's teaching me how to use my Mother's Day gift, a Molinex Chrome Glider. He says it glides beautifully over all our clothes. And he's right. What a teacher. Show me again, David.
Molinex, Europe's #1. Available at these stores.
Australia's still working. It's the only way to be. Australia's still working. All the world to see. Australia's still
All over the country, more and more Australians are still working. But the only place you'll find the precision and quality of genuine still equipment is at an authorised still service centre. Call 008 804 117.
Raunchier than Madonna, sexy, sizzling, sensational. Thursday, be prepared to be shocked by the power of Kylie live in Dublin.
The boys are in good form today. Collingwood struggles against Hawthorn, and they struggled again yesterday. The Hawks against the odds. Successful out at Waverley Park. It hurts me to say it, Peter McKenna. He's got all my money. Tim Watson, your votes from yesterday's game.
Yes, well, yesterday's game I gave Jason Dunstall 3 votes, and he kicked 9 goals for, gave a couple away, and messed up a couple too. He was fantastic. Darren Jarman, I've described Darren Jarman as a Rolls Royce with the handbrake on it. Well, yesterday he took the handbrake off, and he was fantastic. And Andy Collins had the toughest job on the ground. He played on Francis, and he chopped Francis out and he's also very instrumental himself. But this game really was won, I think, during the week at match committee. Joyce started with Collins on Francis, Allen on Russell, Condon on McGuan, Morrissey on Dacos, Anderson on Wright, Pritchard on Williams, Langford on Starcevic, Ayres on Brown, Gowers on Watson, Deere in the ruck, and Lawrence in the forward pocket. And the players just followed their man wherever they went, and the Collingwood boys didn't get started. In fact, they looked very lethargic in the second half, and they played a tough game on Monday against Melbourne. And I think that it took its toll because they really couldn't gather much momentum at all in the second half.
Did Taylor play at centre-half forward for Hawthorn?
Taylor played at centre-half forward, yes.
And how did he go?
I thought he did very well. He moves around a lot. He's got a good... he's not a bad mark. In fact, he reminds me a lot of the boy that went back to South Australia. Robram, yes.
It's interesting, isn't it, Timmy, how they're playing very gifted players on the superstars of the opposition. And it started like Morrissey last in the grand final against Lewis, and now Morrissey being used on Dacos. And obviously didn't work, but I'm talking about the thinking beforehand.
Well, for most of the game it did work. Dacos got away a few times, and as you know, he kicks miraculous goals, Dacos. But I thought Morrissey did a pretty good job over the 4 quarters, and I really think Hawthorn went back to the basics. They've been playing like millionaires. Yesterday they played like junkyard dogs, and they really did work well around the packs.
Tim, the performance of Dunstall, have you seen a better full forward than Dunstall?
No,
Peter McKenna.
No. I was sitting next to one yesterday, but I think that Dunstall probably has gone past Lockett as a player. I think that yesterday he was just great. He's so strong one out, and he leads so well.
Unselfish.
And he's unselfish. A couple of times he really should have had a shot from 30 or 40 metres out, but he elected to pass to what he thought was someone in a better position.
How did they combine Lawrence and Deere Hawthorn?
Well, I've been thinking that 2 big guys are almost extinct in the one side in football, but yesterday you could see that Lawrence was desperate to get on the ball and to.
So he was playing on the ground all the time.
Yes, he was on the ground all the time.
Right.
He was in the pocket. He really wanted to get on the ball. Deere wanted to get on the ball. But the interesting thing was that Starcevic went on the ball for Collingwood, and Langford, who'd been instructed to follow Starcevic wherever he went, stayed with him. So those two played really as the ruckman. Deere ended up playing centre-half back on Manson, who went back to the centre-half back line, and Lawrence probably spent most of the game in the pocket.
Tim, a lot of talk about Hawthorn. How would you rate Collingwood after just their first loss for the season?
I still think Collingwood are a very good side, and I think Collingwood will definitely be there at the end of the year. I really think that they suffered from that Monday game. They looked a very tired side in the second half, and although they hung in there, the scores really did flatter them in the end.
Well, Tim, you never look tired. You didn't look tired on Live and Sweaty about 9 days ago, the program shown on the ABC, when Tim was interviewed by Earl McFeaston. This is just a little extract and a highlight from that interview.
I actually like that grandmother look.
You like this one?
The lipstick.
You do it, you do it.
Yeah, that one. You know, the grandma's...
But go back on television.
Yes. No, I don't know why people wouldn't take me seriously.
Okay, and now we cross down to the boundary line. How's it going?
Thank you, Sandy. Well, it's been a terribly torrid game here. At 3/4 time, Malcolm Blight was very distressed about some of his players. He kicked me off the ground, Sandy. I've got no idea why. All I was doing was standing there trying to listen to what they were saying.
Tim.
It's lovely. The modern day footballer. There's your brush and there's your lipstick. Look after yourself now.
Hey, Robbo just said what you do to get a quid, but you don't get paid on the ABC, do you?
No. You need a new manager.
Oh, Bobby. Thanks for that little extra, by the way, Bobby. Bob, now tell me yesterday, at 3/4 time, the Bombers, you wouldn't have given any of their players a vote. How have you fitted them in?
I had to change the votes very quickly, actually. In fact, I didn't think there was a team out there playing for 3/4. Only Melbourne looked to be the team. You know, really, the Essendon team was slack. They didn't follow anything up. Do you want the votes, Brian, do you? Oh, well, there we go. Bruce led me into them, but I forgot all about them. But Gary Lyon in the first 3/4 was magnificent and played extremely well. Salmon was always about, you know, he played reasonably well, but in the last quarter he really did dominate the game. And Kickatoo, well, I asked one of the other commentators who goes over to the coaches post-mortem, so why was his best player playing at fullback? And of course in the last dying second of the game we saw it, because he took that magnificent mark and saved the match for Essendon when Melbourne did make one last thrust at them. But for most of the game they looked very ordinary, Essendon, and The Melbourne team ran hard. When did they play last run? Melbourne. Last Monday. But the last quarter, obviously legs run out of them.
Well, they died in the last quarter.
Well, they died in the last quarter on Monday too.
Oh, Monday too.
Collingwood kicked 6 goals to Melbourne 0 on Monday.
I think Melbourne are in front at three-quarter time. Kickett played all day on the back line.
Oh, no, he went back there about halfway through the second quarter, I think it was. He was a very good, he's a magnificent player, isn't he?
He's a great player. And Essendon like to play him in the back line because he sets up so much play. And a lot of the
He is a very good team player.
He's a very good team player and he's very constructive with his handball.
Bob, what was the Steins and Salmon duel like? I mean, did they run with one another during the day or not?
No, actually I thought that Steins was doing extremely well. And so much so that Kevin couldn't. I mean, it might be a chance for Madden to get back in the team in one way, because Salmon had to go in and try and get the knockout and then go up into the forward line to be the forward for them to play to.
Gary Lyon's an important player to Melbourne.
He played very well. He played very well.
Centre forward, Bob?
Yes, he is a good player, Lyons, but he can't really. He doesn't take control of the game as much as he should, Lyons. I think he's a better player than that.
Now, Bob.
Yeah.
When Essendon got 2 or 3 goals in the last quarter, all got within 2 or 3 goals.
They kicked 5 goals in 7 minutes and 7 goals in 12 minutes, right?
Did the Melbourne players off the ball, say 50 metres off the ball, all tighten up with it? Was everyone tightening up?
In fact, I thought that they all wanted to win the game themselves. They didn't do that, what I was taught anyway, to find your man and play alongside him when it's, when a crunch time comes like that.
It's a failure of leadership then, isn't it, on the ground?
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know how many leaders they've got. It's obviously that the runner wasn't getting a correct message through to the players if he was in fact sending a message out.
Well, but last week Sullivan
he shows good skills.
He's built like a toothpick, but he's not a bad sort of a player.
He shows good skills. There's no two ways about it.
Lamprell?
We've got to go. You've got to ask Bob about Lamprell in the commercial break. We'll be back with more after this.
Has fame gone to Sam's head?
You've been named after a sour yellow citrus fruit and all of a sudden you're in showbiz?
Has Betty snapped? Hey Dan, Wednesday.
Yep, that's it. Now I'm in business. Do you want to see her? Never thought you'd ask. And I never thought we'd get there. Finance companies, what do they care about me, I used to say. But then ANZ said talk to a sender. And they sent Jim up.
Cherry pickers to cranes? Seemed too big a leap. Cole proved me wrong. He's got his cash flow worked out for the next 18 months.
So this is the fly, Jim? Yep.
And Jim doesn't just talk numbers, he talks cranes. He'd done his own work. Not to tell me how to run things, but so as he could help me grow.
Top operator, hey?
The way that structured finance plan fits my cash flow was very smart.
See you soon, Cole. Yeah, see you later, Jim.
He's got contracts with some big companies. He's on his way now.
Come on, Jim! Work to do!
At Asander, the way we see it, to be truly successful, a business relationship must be based on one thing: recognising that you know your job and we know ours.
Pay only up to half price at Stratfield Car Radios during their half price sale. The boom pack was $178, now $89. That's half price. High-powered CD pack was $794, now $398. That's half price. Top brands, lowest prices, all add up to half price. Only till 6 p.m. Monday and only at Stratfield Car Radios.
Since David gave me a stick mixer for Mother's Day, he gets perfect cakes, perfect potatoes, and milkshakes. It's perfect, and so is David.
Moulinex, Europe's #1. Available at these stores.
Mother's Day is a great reason to buy a box of Gillian. But when chocolate tastes this good, who needs a reason? Treat yourself to a box of Gillian, the original chocolate seashells.
I wanna feel, I wanna look, the way I wanna be.
We're so alike. We feel the same about things. She knows what I think before I say it. She'd make a great mother, just like me.
That's Katie's, that's me.
Bob's just pointed out that Buick and O'Donnell withdrew before the game for Essendon, so it was an excellent performance by the Bombers. Peter McKenna went to Sydney on Friday night and he saw Wayne Carey star for North Melbourne as they kept their chances alive in 92, Peter.
They've got a magnificent record up there. They've lost one game there, North Melbourne, and as we have a look at the votes, I gave a vote to Mark Bayes. He had the big job on John Longmire. He's under pressure all night. He played a great defensive game. Surprise packet was Sean Smith. Great to see him back after that liver operation, and big mark and kicked 4 goals. And Wayne Carey, well, let's hope he finally realises that enormous potential, because he is a very, very exciting player in the hardest position on the field. He was magnificent on Friday night. There's Bayes, and that time it's Crocker fighting for the ball. But, well, the same old thing with the Swans. They're little players and their back line are pretty good. They've got a good ruckman in Tunbridge. They're on ball, as I say, very good players, but they really do lack class forwards, and that's the difference between North Melbourne and the Swans.
How did you see the battle between Tunbridge and Ishenko?
Well, that was a real surprise packet. I've seen Tunbridge a couple of times this year. He's been absolutely magnificent for the Swans. I thought Ishenko, well, both of them played well. Ishenko, very surprising. He showed a lot of speed on Friday night, which certainly surprised me. I reckon the honours on the night slightly in the way of Ishenko.
What about Holmes? Where did he play?
Holmes is on the back line, Dale Holmes. He makes a few errors. He's enthusiastic, probably a little bit down on skill, but he is a very young player.
Now, the Swans have performed very well in Melbourne, out at Victoria Park against Collingwood, and last week at Princess Park, and their home games have been terrible. What's happened to them? Is it because of the TV being back on Saturdays?
They did beat West Coast, Robbo, in the first round.
In the first game.
Well, believe it or not, I think their style of game, believe it or not, is suited to a big round, because they've got so many runners and so many quick little blokes, and they really haven't got those really good key forwards. And on big grounds, you can get away with that because you can run the ball, and that's why they play so well at Carlton. You often, if they ever go to the MCG, you'll find they'll play well there too.
McGovern, he's a good find, I think.
He's from Claremont. Yeah. He is a very skillful player, underrated type of player. And look, they've picked up some good players, the Swans. And I'll tell you what, when you play against them, it's not going to be an easy game. But I think they were very disappointing Friday night.
Just on the grounds, don't you think it's about time we were told the area of a ground, not just the length and the width?
Well, why? I don't know, but why, right?
Well, space, you talk about space, and I mean, we come inboard such a lot, we go across the ground such a lot. Your actual width is very important, and the depth of your pockets is very important.
Well, who cares about that, really, Ron? Because
no, but I think we don't even know which ground's got the most area.
So what do you want to know that for?
I think it'd be interesting.
You can
I don't think the players are big too.
Ron? By the AFL book, you can find that out.
Yeah, you can in the AFL book. And
Ron, area.
But they're oval, Tim. You can't.
You get the dimensions of the ground in the
Gentlemen.
No, hang on. That's
wouldn't be a big difference anyway.
What is the area?
Well, it's a perfect ellipse.
It's bigger than you think, actually.
Ellipse, Ron.
Let's look at the ladder. Let's look at the ladder, because we did make a mistake at the beginning of the program. This is the ladder. Footscray, Collingwood, Carlton, Geelong, Fitzroy, Hawthorn. That's the 6. Adelaide, St Kilda, Essendon, North, Sydney, West Coast, Brisbane, Richmond, Melbourne. So that's the ladder at the moment. Anyway, Ron, if we told you, you'd probably forget. You didn't realise that you went to the Beatles concert, I read in one of the papers this morning.
Bruce, could we get a diagram of all the grounds put up next week, Bruce?
No, seriously.
On that bit
I'm not sure about it.
The lips, he's confusing the ellipse with the lips.
Oh, Barras, you're a gem. The votes from last week, Gerard Healy said Tregenza, Wren, well,
Wren.
I think it's John Wren. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. And Hodges.
It's quite a bird.
Barassi, Ron. Do you remember these, Ron? Lowe, Lynch and Morris. Did you actually say that?
Yes, I should have lynched Morris.
Don Scott, Dacos, Starcevic and Pickering. Now the progressives. Low leads. Tunbridge, Kickett, Matkins, 8-7-7. And Bradley, Dacos, Wine, Starcevic, Dunstall and D. Jarman. I like that. Rolls Royce with the handbrake on. That was all right. Marks of the week coming up in just a moment. Tim and Peter have got to be patient for 10 seconds.
The Mark of the Week and the Mark of the Year are proudly brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors.
Yes, this first mark, Sean Wren's going back with the flight of the ball.
Now, next one we'll see is Craig Starcevic out to centre wing at full pace. Good mark under pressure there.
Grant Williams, a new player for Melbourne from Tasmania, going back with the flight again for a very good grab.
And the next one, definitely the best mark in the league, without a doubt, Stuart Lowe. See it, the strength showed out on that occasion, too.
Matthew Dundas, the blonde-headed player for Fitzroy, a one-handed grab.
And the next one, Jeremy Gard, another recruit from Western Australia, Claremont, juggling mark in the forward pocket against the Saints.
A big man from St Kilda again, back with the fight, the ball, reminiscent of Paul Vanderhaar, isn't it?
I mentioned Wayne Carey before, an exciting young player showing strength on that occasion. Good mark.
A lot of marks today. The same style of mark. Dale Lewis going back again with the flight of the ball.
Outstanding mark.
Yeah, we said outstanding there. Well, Wayne Carey again, look at that from the back. He really is an exciting prospect.
A player that had difficulty with Melbourne letting go. Earl Spalding taking that standard grab.
Tony Lockett, sheer strength on Michael Sexton there, and the big fella took a good strong mark.
Stewie Lowe juggling that one.
Stewie Lowe again. How often do we see this? But he takes about 15 marks a game.
And an exciting player from Collingwood, Paul Williams, taking a ride on Gary Ayres' shoulders.
And finally, Greg Anderson showed a lot of courage here, had to run back to the pack, and a very good mark by Greg.
I suppose it'll be no surprise at Stewie Lowe featuring there, Macca?
No, Tim, Lowe is definitely one of the best marks of all time, and that mark he took in that forward pocket, I think you agreed with me. And have a look at this. Not only is it a great one grab, but look at the courage. The pack coming at him, one bite, terrific mark, Stuart Lowe.
Well done, Stewie. Gowers, McDonald, Grant, Wiedemann, Lewis and Lowe have been round-by-round winners in the Mitsubishi Mark of the Year. A break, back with goals of the year after this.
The moment is drawing near. Australia's #1 comedy,
You got it right,
returns for 92.
I cannot believe we have waited so long for that.
All your old favourites in a brand new series.
No wonder this country's going to the dogs.
Toyota presents Fast Forward, returning Thursday.
When you've got really serious work to do, it might not be enough to just have a big V6 under the bonnet. That's why Mitsubishi proudly bring you the new Triton 3-litre V6 cab chassis with four-wheel drive. The new Triton V6. Have a think about it. Or as the boys at Mitsubishi might say, please consider.
David's using my Moulinex food processor, and what it can't do for desserts, meat and vegetables, he gave it to me for Mother's Day, and he loves it. I love him too.
Moulinex, Europe's #1. Available at these stores.
SIO?
It's true. SIO provide a free local taxi to get you home or to your next appointment. It's free with SIO comprehensive insurance.
Don't worry, Mrs. Bennett. We've got everything under control.
Insurance as it should be.
Australian Popular Video proudly releases Mario Lanza, The American Caruso. Hosted by Placido Domingo, this unique video documentary traces the life and career of this extraordinary musical talent and features clips from The Great Caruso, The Toast of New Orleans, and The Student Prince. These, plus rare interviews with family and friends, newsreel footage, and seldom heard recordings, make this biography unforgettable. Mario Lanza, The American Caruso. Available now on video from these outlets.
Be at Calder Park Thunderdome this Sunday for the grand finals of the NASCAR and Oscar National Championships. See American aces Rodney Combs and JJ Fuller wheel to wheel against Alan Grice, O'Brien Best, Jones Dumsney and all the awesome Aussies in the Drink Drive Classic. There's Holden versus Ford at 300 clicks in the Yellow Terror Oscar final. See Jones, Harrington, Brewer, Seaton and a big support card. Wild? You'd better believe it. And only at Calder Park Thunderdome. Grand final day this Sunday from 10 o'clock. Be there.
I'm very comfortable with recycled parts. I trust my life to them. So when it comes to a part from a Magna, the choice is easy. Sigma-Rec. Whether you come to Sigma-Rec yourself or ask your repairer, chances are that reliable part will be in stock for virtually every Mitsubishi car. The part will be carefully checked or reconditioned with full warranty. It simply makes good sense to save by recycling good reusable parts. Look for Sigma-Rec in the yellow pages. They can deliver.
Good on you, Ron, bringing everybody back to order as Bob and Don are about to look at the goals of the week.
The goal of the week and the goal of the year are brought to you by BP. BP, on the move.
Now this is a very nice goal by McGuinness here, shows his fantastic skill, brings the ball up, one quick left foot straight through the centre.
Also last Saturday, Jeff Hogg featuring here. Watch Hogg, he set that one up, runs onto it. Great effort.
And this is one of Stephen Stretch's trademarks. When you see him take the ball like this, have one or two bounces and set sail at the goal. He is really a very nice goal kicker, Stephen Stretch.
This man who's going to feature here, Peter Dacos, kicked a couple of magnificent goals, miraculous goals last week, and there was one of them.
And now we'll see a controversial goal here. You'll hear why it is later on. There's Davenport. See the way that he's brought that ball straight back through the goal. A magnificent goal.
This fellow's got a lot of ability. And the Fitzroy forward, Darren Wheeldon, here he is showing it, taking it out of the boundary throw-in. Snap over his left shoulder.
And Ben Buckley here for North Melbourne, taking the ball, swinging it back with his non-preferred foot, as Ron would like to say, but putting a nice goal through.
One of my favourite players coming up there, number 7 for the Sydney Swans, their captain, Dennis Carroll.
And Adrian Fletcher, I think we see, take the ball here and swings the ball back nicely, putting it straight through for St Kilda.
This was a fantastic goal, a pressure goal. Watch this by the big fellow. He really doesn't get down to pick them up off the ground, but it bounced favourably. What a fantastic goal by the captain.
Yes, very nice banana bending goal there. And now we'll see Dunstall in his usual mode, just going around and putting it through beautifully.
Now Hawthorn's best and fairest of last year, Dan Allen, figuring. A lot of players doing those check side kicks, and there's Allen doing his.
And of course the Collingwood magician. Well, he does play sweetly all the time. With a beautiful long torpedo.
One player that's got a lot of ability at Melbourne is Darren Cuthbertson. He's kicked a bag full, I think 7 on 2 occasions, and look at that one.
And now the controversy starts. Who selected the goal?
You selected, but I would say that how you ever went past Stephen Kernahan's goal is beyond me. That was fantastic at a critical stage of the game.
Let us look at the degree of difficulty that this boy does. It's exactly the same thing. Look, he has
pressure.
to bend.
Where's the pressure?
Look, the fella's just pushed him just after he's kicked it.
Kernahan took on Morris and was in a deep pocket as well.
Kernahan punched the ball in front of him.
Well,
bounced up beautifully.
He meant to do that because there was nobody in front.
And he's a captain.
It was a critical goal.
Gentlemen, does he have to win it because he's the captain?
No, but he's got to set an example.
Gentlemen, Bob, I think your point's a good one.
That's right, thank you, Bruce.
About the same. They were both brilliant.
I agree. Bruce, upstairs, I wanted to have a draw, but they said no, you must pick one.
I'm not sitting on the fence, I just...
Controversy rages.
You picked the wrong one.
Ablett, Lamprell, Gowers, White, Carey and Devonport. Good on you, Bobby. Very briefly, Bob, because we've run out of time almost. Geelong to beat Fitzroy.
Don't worry about the other games.
You've saved us some time, Don.
Well, a toss-up, Geelong, I don't know. They're all a toss-up. West Coast, I think, is a toss-up as well.
But we just saw you giving the sign on TV.
West Coast, Geelong and Adelaide.
Thank you, Ron. You're well organised.
Yes, so the same as Ron.
Same again.
Oh. Robert?
Ditto.
Oh, okay.
What's that mean?
The same. Didn't you do your Latin, Ron?
I did my Pythagoras, though.
Oh, did you? Well, I tell you what,
we worked out the area.
Ron, you've got twice as many theories as Pythagoras ever had, I can promise you.
We'd love to see you jumping out the bath, Ron, to the specific gravity.
And look, if anybody sees Ron Barassi at each of the football ovals in Australia the next week with the tape measure, we know what he's up to. He wants to find out the area. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Bye-bye, or morning.
I don't trust what I see in the paper.
What about?
Well, what about...
Especially when you ride
50-metre arc up in Sydney. If that's 50 metres, I will go he.
Oh,
okay,
hey, why
Ron,
don't you do something?
You go he, we'll leave it. Bye.
12 o'clock today.